Hello everyone, well, what a video we've got for you here. It's time to bring you a little bit of long range. Wow, I've not done any long range since December 2021 when we signed off on the winter 2021-2022 forecast, and the least said about that, the better, I think. But with one thing and another, cancer and all of the various other crises that I've been going through, I've not been able to do any long range for like over 6 months actually. Since last year. And so I thought, well, why not do a little bit of long range? And you know, but in the summer we like to do a couple of winter preambles, because we are getting closer to winter updates. The winter 2022-2023 updates will begin on Sunday the 3rd of September. And so, you know, through the summer we like to do at least a couple of preambles and sort of get everybody ready for winter updates season to commence. And so I thought, why not do that? So I've been having a very enjoyable night getting together all of the analogs for this video, and I'm going to present those to you in a moment. So I'll get on that for you very shortly. Just so if you enjoy videos on my channel at the moment, please do like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And thank you so much to Shryan as well, my good friend Shryan Brian, for getting all of these relevant years together for us. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to Shryan. Right, so should we do a little bit of long range after all this time? Why not? Why not do it? Right, so we're going to start off by having a look at June data for this. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm a little bit giddy with this because, you know, I'm not doing it for such a long while. No, I'm a little bit excited, a little bit giddy, but I'm going to try and calm myself down. Yeah, we're going to look at June data for this first preamble for 2022-2023. Let's start off with CT, and then we'll have a look at England and Wales P. England Wales Precipitation, that'll be later on in the video. But start with the CT. So June Central England temperature came out at 14.9. It was around 1 degree above average, 0.8 degrees above average. It wasn't particularly hot June, but it was a little bit warmer than average. And so, very simply, we're going to be looking at winters following June's with a CT range of 14.7, 15.1. That places June 2022 slap bang in the middle of that range. And so, that's what we're going to do. So, the first one we're going to start off with is 1963, 1964. Just to say, with this, that all these years are going to be after 1950 to ease ourselves back into the long range. So, this is how winter 1963, 1964 looks following June CT range of 14.7 to 15.1. And overall, it's an anticyclonic winter with high pressure over and to the northerly country around. That comes in winter on an easterly direction. So you're not having it's quite cold, not that cold really, although it's 1960s winter, so it does have some cold weather within, but generally it's just rather mild, benign, quiet type winter for 63, 64. The next winter is 1965, 1966. This is a front-loaded winter. By that I mean it's coldest early on and gets milder later. So December 1965 is quite a cold month and does have a cold Christmas actually with some stir around. Early to mid-January 66 also quite cold with easterly winds, a proper Scandian easterlies and whatnot. But then the second half of January and February is much milder and wetter, and so overall we come away with this analogue with low pressure in off the Atlantic, jet stream pushed southwards as well, and some higher pressure up towards Greenland. So the block 2 is there. It tells you that there is cold weather in this winter. It's mainly early on, and then it gets a lot milder and wetter later. The next winter, following June situation 14.7, 15.1, is 1968, 1969. Now this one is a backloaded winter. This one has a colder weather later, although it does have a cold Christmas in 68. That's a classic white Christmas. But otherwise it's relatively mild through January, in particular 1969. And then at the end of January, it gets colder. February 1969 is a properly cold and wintry month with lots of northerly winds and lots of snow. Overall, the analogue does signal a cold winter with high pressure blocking around Greenland, Iceland. The jet stream is going a long way down to the south down here, and we bring in the winds from like an easterly or northerly direction a lot of the time through this winter. So a cold winter, yes, but remember it's a long run of mild weather through January of 69. The next winter is 73, 74. This is just a mild, wet sort of winter, really, with lots of low pressure around the country. So quite a mild and wet winter for that one. We've got a long gap to 86, 87. So this one has high pressure to the north, and you can see that we're probably bringing wind from the east. It's a very mild December that we have in 1986. So rather mild December 86, but then it gets very cold in January. Contains a big freeze, of course, middle of January 1987. Very, very severe cold spell, probably the coldest spell, single coldest spell since 1740, actually. So extremely cold. So, and the rest of the winter, the cold is sort of on-off, not continuous, but on-off cold then through the rest of that winter. Overall, it is quite a cold winter for 1986, 1987. Then we've got 93, 94. This is a rather wet and unsettled winter. This is a 1990 winter, of course. A lot of them are mild. This one is relatively mild winter too, although it does have some cold snaps, especially around Christmas of 93, and then again in the middle of February 1994 has quite an easterly spell of weather that does deliver some snow. However, overall it's a relatively mildish and wettish type winter. Then we've got 2000, 2001, following June city range of 40.7 to 15.1. This is like a cold winter for the north, so this is a strange winter. Really. It has lots of blocking within the high latitudes, but we've also got low pressure just to our southwest. It's a cold winter for Scotland with lots of easterly winds and generally kind of mildish sort of winter for like England and Wales. However, there is some cold weather even there, and for the era, similar to 1994, I suppose, for the era, it is one of the cooler winters actually, and especially so for Scotland. There is quite a bit of snow. 2007, 2008 is looking like that. It's generally a mild and dry winter, rather unusual combination, but mild and dry for the winter of 07, 08. Lots of high pressure to our south-southeast, low pressure way to the northwest, and bringing up wind from like a southerly type direction, so mild and dry for that one. 0910 shows up next. Wow, wow, wow. Now, this one is quite a cold winter. Actually, a very cold winter. It's the coldest winter in Scotland since 1963 and the coldest UK-wide winter since 1979, actually. So this one has a very, very strong blocking signal around Greenland. Look at all that high pressure within the northern latitudes. Has low pressure and the jet stream getting pushed southwards. And it brings in the wind from an easterly point. So cold for that winter, especially so like late December, around Christmas, into the first half of January 2010, which is actually quite severe in that sort of 3 or 4 week period from mid to late December to early to mid-January. That period does get very, very cold, and it does have quite a lot of snow as well. And then the final winter in 2014, 2015. Not much to say about that one, really. It's like an average type winter. High pressure to our west-southwest, low pressure to our west-northwest, and we bring in the wind from off the Atlantic. So there's some cold snaps in there, but not all that exciting. Right, so let's put all that together then. So this is how all Decembers combined are looking following June city range of 14.7 to 15.1. A very unsettled signal for these Decembers, with lots of low pressure over the west and north of Europe. So just a very wet sort of signal, really, for those Decembers. All January's combined, a little bit more interesting though. We start to raise the heights to the north, and we send the jet stream and the areas of low pressure down to the south, and so we start pulling in the wind from more of an easterly direction. Now, not every one of these Januaries will be cold. For example, we've got 2008 in there, which is a mild January, and we've got 1974, which is a mild January too. However, on average, there is cold potential with those Januaries, more often than not, and sometimes some pretty cold weather in some of those. And then we've also got all February's combined, following June CC ranges 14.7, 15.1. Maybe that's even better signal for the Februaries to be cold, as we really do start to raise those heights up towards Greenland and Iceland. We begin to send projections southwards as well, in further southwards, and even more of a country perhaps getting a northerly or easterly into. Again, we have to take into account not every one of those February's going to be cold. 2008 was a very mild February, for example, as was 1966. But we do have quite a few cold ones. We might begin skewing a little bit of that by 69, which was a very cold and sturdy month. But overall, not too bad really for cold signal for those Januaries. And then all winters combined, following June season range of 14.7, 15.1. There is a bit of cold potential with that too, as we raise the heights up over Greenland, below pressure, and majestic going southwards. We could bring in wind from the east. Bear in mind, December is looking generally mild and wet with most of those Decembers. But January and February has an increasing cold signal, really. Right, so I'll pause the video there, and when I come back, we'll go through England and Wales precipitation for June. So I'll have a little bit more data for you in a moment, but you go and get yourself a cup of tea, and stretch your legs a little bit if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can do. And I shall see you in around 2 seconds' time, so I'll see you very, very soon. See you in a bit. Right, okay, we're going to have a look at England and Wales precipitation now for Jimmy's, in the first part of the video, before that little break. We had a look at the CT, now we're going to have a look at England and Wales P, and I shall get on with it for you. So I hope you enjoy the video. If you are been pleased, you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this. Right, so we're on the England and Wales precipitation page at the UK Met. So it's going all the way back to 1766, actually. It goes back a very, very long way. But we don't want to go back that far. We're only going to go back to last month, actually. So we come down all of the years to 2022. There we go. And we can see back, it's been a very dry year, actually. We did have a wet February, but other than that, most of the months this year have tended to be dry. June, no exception with a CT, or not talking about, with England Wales P of 15.2 millimetres. I know I'm going to make a mistake. It's been so long since I've done this. I'm rusty. I'm rusty, you see. I still aren't very good at my am I? No, I'm a little bit rusty, but anyway, never mind about that. I'm going to persevere. So, June, England Wales precipitation came out at 15.2 millimetres, and therefore, we're going to be looking at winters following June's with an England and Wales precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres. Let's do that, shall we? Why not? So, we're going to start off with winter of 1950-1951. Now this has it's a cyclonic and wet winter. That's the first thing to say about it. However, it does have a very cold December in 1950, courtesy of this high pressure just here in December. It's actually more towards Greenland. So there is quite a lot of cold weather during December 1950. It's kind of like a toned down version of the December to Remember and December 1981, but it is a cold and snowy month. The rest of the winter, though, generally mild and wet in January and February of 1951. Our next winter, following June in Wales precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres, is 1952-1953. This one, I'm so sorry everyone, this one has high pressure just south to our west, with some low pressure down to the south. Got to calm myself down. Very excited to be back doing the long range. If you're excited to have me back doing the long range, so please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, if you're excited. Hashtag I'm excited and I just can't hide it. Why not post that in the comments? Hashtag I'm excited and I just can't hide it. To have Gav back doing the long range. I don't know. Anyway, I'm so sorry everybody. The winter of 1953 does have some cold snaps. It's not a particularly cold winter, but there is some cooler outbreaks. The next winter is 1957-1958. This one is a wet winter. Really starts off mild and gets colder later. So it does have a mid-Atlantic ridge, does have a below Antarctic to our northeast, generally pulling in winds from the north. However, December 57 is generally mild, and then as winter progresses, it gets cold. Just has a very cold March in 1958, just outside winter period, of course. Then we've got 1959-1960. This is just a mild and wet winter, really. It does have some blocking, but it's more towards Canada, the Canadian side of the Arctic. For us, it's just a rather Atlantic-driven, mild and wet winter for that one. Then we've got 1960-1961. This one again is quite a mildish, wettish sort of winter with low pressure in off the Atlantic. It does have some cold weather around Christmas of 1960. I think December 1960 is actually quite a cold month, but January, February 61 relatively mild. Then we go through to 69-70. So this one has cold weather later. Mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland type thing with below average heights to our east, winds in from a northerly or a northeasterly direction. So it's relatively mild in December, quite quiet early part of winter, but it gets colder as winter goes on. There's a very cold and snowy spell at the end of February and into early March. Oh, we've got a proper cold winter here, which is 81-82. Following June, England, Wales, precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres. I knew that came, but I kind of forgot. Yeah, so this one is very cold. Again, similar to so I think this analog pack is probably favouring like cold earlier, if anything, actually, because similar to December 1950, December 1981 is a very cold and snowy month, but even colder, actually, and we see that blocking still around Greenland, again with below pressure to our south and southwest. So very cold, snowy December. There's another really cold and snowy spell through the early part of January, and then the second half of winter gets much milder. So second half of January and particularly February turns much milder, and we have an early spring in 1982. Then we've got 86-87 turning up again. So we know what happened with that because we've just seen it. Well, we know have a mild December, and it gets severely cold in January as we pull in those winds from the east. And then the rest of winter, the cold is sort of on and off. We've got 2000-2001 turning up again. So that one has high pressure again to the north, low pressure to the south. It's a relatively mild-ish winter for the south, but it is a cold winter for Scotland and has quite a lot of snow during the winter for Scotland. And for the era, it is a colder winter actually through all areas. We've got 2001-2002 following June, England, Wales, precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres. This is a funny winter, and the analog doesn't really tell you a great deal actually about this winter. It has quite a chilly December and very cold around the New Year of 2002. Then it gets much milder and has a wet February, mild and wet February. January relatively dry, but starting off cold and getting milder. Overall, the analog looks like that, probably favouring a mild, dry winter type pattern overall. We've got 2002-2003, which you would look at and think is a cold winter with easterly winds of Scandi high, but it is not. It does have some colder snaps, but it's not a cold winter particularly. And then we've got 2005-2006, which is a failed cold winter. You look at that and think this is a very cold winter, with all that high pressure going north and northeast winds in from like what looks like it should be a very long way east. You'd look at that and think that's a proper cold winter, wouldn't you? And it isn't. Somehow or other, it just never really comes together. It does have cold interludes, cold outbreaks. There's a particularly cold spell, like second half of February to first half of March, where we do genuinely turn cold, actually, with some snow. But overall, that is a failed cold winter. And then lastly, for winters following June, so England precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres. We got winter 2014-15. We had a look at this winter earlier on. Again, it's an overlap sort of winter. We will put the overlap winters together in a moment, actually. So this one, again, low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south-southwest, winds in from west-northwesterly direction. It's an Atlantic River winter, but not particularly mild winter. It's about average for CT. Right, let's put all of that together. Then we see how all Decembers combined are looking following a June England and Wales precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres. We have, on average, will be exceptions, of course, as ever with weather, there'll be exceptions to anything, but on average, we have a mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland with a trough of low over Northern Europe. And so a lot of these Decembers could have cold potential. Actually, a lot of them could bring those winds in from the north and from the northeast. We know we've got December 81 and December 1950 in the package, so it's not surprising that, overall we might have an increased chance of colder weather. January's combined following June where precipitation rate 43 to 57 millimetres, looks like that. Again, there's a bit of cold potential in with that, with above average heights to the south. I was quite surprised when I saw that, actually. Above average heights to the north, above average heights to the south, and winds often favouring coming in from an easterly direction. And then all February's combined, following that June England Wales precipitation range, looks like this. Again, with the above average heights within high latitudes, but below average heights to our south and east. Winds often coming in from like an east direction, but not quite clear cut, I don't think, for the Februaries. We could, it could also be like the chance of milder weather for those Februaries. So February's a little bit in between. But all three of those winter months do have some northern blocking signals that are going on, actually, quite interestingly. And then finally for this set, then all winters combined following June in Wales precipitation range of 43 to 57 millimetres, looks like that. So these are cold potential type chart with a mid-Atlantic ridge and some northern blocking, below average heights across much of Europe. Winds tend to be in from the east and from the northeast. So both sets, have a little bit of potential there. So let's put all of it together finally. So this is how all Decembers combined are looking following the June CT package and the England and Wales precipitation package for June. So this is like the overlap years. We've only got 3 years within this, 1986, 2000, 2014. I suppose these will be the strongest, years, given that they overlap for both sets. So for all Decembers combined, for those 3 years, a mild and wet signal with low pressure over the country, high pressure pulled away to the southwest, winds coming in from off the Atlantic. So a mild, wet signal to start us off. That's all January's combined look, though. So that's a lot more interesting from a cold perspective, with above average heights to our north and northeast, below average heights to the south, winds in from the east. Bear in mind, that does include January 1987. We've only got 3, January 87, January 2001, and January 2015. We've only got 3 years, so January 87 is probably skewing that a little bit. But nevertheless, there is cold potential for those Januaries, for the overlap years. And then all Februaries combined for the overlap years look like that, with above average heights over and just like to our northwest. Clearly a drier signal. I think the main thing to say about February is about it's a drier signal. Maybe still a little bit of cold potential given the position of that high pressure, not that far from Iceland. So a colder, drier type signal perhaps for those Februaries. And then lastly, all winters combined for June CT and June precipitation overlap years, which is of course 86, 87, 2000, 2001, 2014, 2015, looks like that. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but we do see some higher pressure in the Atlantic and to our north as well, with some lower pressure to the south. So, we know 2014-15 is a particularly cold. 2000-2001 is a cold winter for Scotland, but not really for England. And then 86-87 is a cold winter everywhere with a severely cold January, or a severely cold spell in January anyway. Right, well, that's it, then, everybody. What do you think to that? I wonder, I don't know. We're back doing the long range. Wow. Who would have thought after everything that's gone on, I'm back doing the long range. If you have enjoyed this video, then please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. And it's amazing. We will have another preamble for you next month in August. There'll be another Winter 2022-2023 preamble next month. And it's all ahead of winter updates beginning on the 3rd of September, I think, so 3rd. So don't forget to check out the LAO forecast that we released back at the beginning of July as well, at the beginning of this month. We have got our winter 2022-2023 LAO forecast. If you have not yet seen that, check it out. For this first winter 2022-2023 preamble, that is all for now. And thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.